What is up, all my fellow Turbos? This is Steve Turbo, the Hyper Arcade Turbo Bros, and I'm coming to you with a video today that goes a little against the grain on what we do here. And it's in celebration of something very, very special that's happening tomorrow. Release date for Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow on 3DS. This is something that we've all been waiting for a long time. We have been waiting for the Pokemon games to come, the original Pokemon games, to come to the 3DS for all of us to enjoy and play and relive our childhood. Now, some of you may be too young to have actually experienced Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow, but for those of us who did get to experience it, it was a whole new world. It was the start of something really beautiful, and for many of us, it was our first actual RPG. Yes, I actually consider Pokemon games to be very much RPGs, because you go through, you have your party, you level them, you teach them moves, you go on a big, vast journey going from place to place and visiting all these different lands, so I absolutely consider it an RPG. You name your character, you're experiencing the world. It's an RPG, guys. It is absolutely an RPG. So today I wanted to kind of create like a bit of a retrospective. I wanted to kind of go back and really think about, what I experienced as a kid and how much joy Pokemon Blue brought me. So today, I'm going to go ahead and share some memories. So I'll never forget when me and Mojo were kids. My mom came up to me and she actually asked me what I thought he would like for his birthday. And this was when Pokemon had just been released recently. And I knew that both him and I were very interested. We watched the cartoon on TV and, we really loved it. So I told her, I was like, hey, I know that he would really love a Game Boy Pocket. Yep, that was it. A blue Game Boy Pocket. And Pokemon Red. She was like, okay. She was like, Pokemon Red and a Game Boy Pocket. You're sure that's what he wants? I'm like, yeah. I was like, absolutely, I know, because we watch the cartoon all the time. So the day came and Mojo received his gift. And boy, let me tell you, did he love it. He loved it so much, it was insane. Like, he spent the whole day just playing Pokemon. Like, he absolutely loved it. And one thing that was really important to my mom was our birthdays. Like, her eyes would light up whenever, she got us a gift, and we just loved it, So, that taught us gratefulness at a very early age because, our mom was just so... She put all of her heart into doing special stuff like that for me and Mojo. So this was a big deal, when she saw him just enjoying it so much, and it was just so big. And I remember, we would go and we would sit outside to, be in nature, just like in Pokemon. And I remember, he was going through and he was picking his first starter, and he picked Charmander because he loved, fire stuff and, fire-type characters and all that, so he went with Charmander. And I remember watching it, and I was like, oh, this is so cool, and we were learning the game together, and it was really awesome. So the time came, and, Jake beat Fire Red. He beat Red. He beat the Red version. And he thought that the blue version contained a different journey. Like, there was more. Like, you had to have both games in order to, one was a part 1, one was part 2. And I thought that the same thing. So the time came, and we were at the mall, and, once again, this was a story very similar to Majora's Mask, where we were in the mall with our mom, and she said, hey, you guys can go ahead and pick out a gift, because you guys were really good, and, you did everything without fussing or anything like that. So we picked Pokemon Blue. So we got home and, Mojo starts playing Pokemon Blue, and he's like, oh, this is the same exact thing. And I'm like, what? Really? And he's like, yeah, it's the same game. You just it starts the same way. I was like, oh. Well, he was like, yeah, so... And we didn't want to seem ungrateful to our mom, so he said, well, how about you play it? So he gave me Pokemon Blue. So, I started playing Pokemon Blue, and I went with Squirtle as my first Pokemon. Now, as you can imagine, me and Mojo were both young kids about this time. I want to say it was about, 1998? 1997, 1998? I can't remember, honestly. It escapes me. But I remember playing that game so much. I leveled my Squirtle to level 100, of course became a Blastoise and everything like that. But I just remember getting so much joy out of those games, and I loved them. I loved playing Blue. I loved discovering all the secrets. I wanted to go through, and I caught every single Pokemon. I caught all 150. Because, back in those days, you youngsters, you wouldn't know anything about this either, we really didn't have a whole lot going on the internet. All you ever had were like these rumors that would fly around, like, oh, yeah, you can get this Pokemon called Mew, but you gotta do some special steps in order to get it. So you would have to do all this crazy stuff, like there was the S.S. Anne trick, where you had to basically lose the battle, and you had to make it to where the S.S. Anne would never leave. So you had to, God, I can't remember what it all was exactly, but you had to make it to where you used an escape rope on the ship, and the ship would still be there. I think that's what it was. And then you would come back later with a Pokemon. I think it was there were some rumors that you had to teach Mewtwo strength, but it said that you needed like a Pokemon with strength, and you would use Surf, and you would get over to where the truck was, and you would move the truck using strength, and it would move, and there would be Mew underneath, and you could get Mew. Well, turns out that actually was not true. I pursued every single, rumor and myth and legend in that game, and it made the experience all the more magical. Nowadays, in the days of the internet, you can really go online and find out just about anything about the Pokemon games. Now, sure, they do include little trinkets and mysteries and whatnot within the games now, but it wasn't quite the same as it was back then, when you really didn't have anything to confirm these rumors or not. So you would just hear it from your buddy whose dad worked for Nintendo, or his uncle worked for Nintendo, and this is how you did this, how you could get Pika-Blue and Mew 3 and all this other stuff. It was great, it was really fun, and it just made you search every single nook and cranny of the game. There were rumors on how you could get Ho-Oh, even though we didn't know what he was called at the time. There were rumors on how you could get a Togepi from Bill in Blue. There were all of these rumors, and it was just so fun. It really enhanced the experience, and it just made you want to search every single corner, crevice, and everything you could do, sometimes restarting your save file over and over and over again to try and pursue these rumors and see if they were true. And that also brings me to my one request of Pokemon, to let me make multiple save files, damn it! Please, that'd be great. So I just remember also, we would bond with kids at school, because we all loved Pokemon. And granted, the jocks, they'd be all like, oh, these nerds, you like Pokemon, you fucking nerd. And, well, they didn't say that, they're kids and all that, but, you got made fun of, but whatever, man. I mean, hey, it's part of the experience of growing up. But I remember we would have to get, I would have the other neighborhood kids come over to my house. We would trade via the link cable. I remember getting my Gengar for a first time. I loved that. I got Alakazam and Machamp. All the Pokemon you had to trade to get their evolutions. That was something really, really cool. And just experiencing all the grandeur of the Pokemon, of Pokemon Red and Blue. And then when Yellow came along, that was pretty cool too. With Pokemon Yellow, it took more influences from the anime, so you started the game with a Pikachu rather than a Charmander, a Bulbasaur, or a Squirtle. So, and the cool thing is that you could go throughout the game and get all three. So that was pretty fun, and you also got to fight the actual, Team Rocket, Jesse and James, inside the game. So basically, they took tabs from the anime and created a more anime-esque experience in this game. I will admit that the only thing I ever tried to pursue in Pokemon Yellow was trying to teach Pikachu how to surf, because there was an episode where, there was a surfing Pikachu. So I tried to experience that. And then came the time when Pokemon Stadium came out, and they were like, hey, you can take your Pokemon from Pokemon Blue and Red and Yellow, put them in this thing, plug it into your N64 controller, and then boom! Your Pokemon are in full 3D on the big screen. Well, back at that time, it was like a 20-inch Panasonic. But hey, man, we took what we could get back then. That was mind-blowing. That was mind-blowing, seeing all the Pokemon that I raised, all these pixelated Pokemon, and then seeing them on the big screen. That was just absolutely awesome. That was the coolest experience for me as a kid, and same with Mojo. That was just so super awesome, and I loved every bit of it, man. Like, it was just so great. So, like, playing Pokemon Stadium was another thing. You know, I would go through, I would beat the Elite Four, and then you get a prize at the end. It would be an Eevee, or it would be a Squirtle or a Bulbasaur or a Charmander or something they would give you as a prize for beating the Elite Four in that game. And it was just the coolest goddamn thing. And let's not forget that your partners, like, your friends could all come over and you could fight Pokemon in full 3D. It was just insane. It was the coolest thing ever. So, granted, all you guys are going to be getting something insanely magical like that here very soon with Pokemon Go, where you're going to be able to go out and experience and find Pokemon, like, actually out in the world. For you younger generation, that is something that we only dreamed of. That's for all of us kids that would sit there and we'd go on hikes and stuff with our families and then just hope randomly we'd see a real-life Pikachu. You know, because when you're a kid, your imagination runs wild, and it's the coolest thing, man. You guys are going to get that, and that is so awesome. You guys are going to experience what we, who are now in our late 20s, and, you know, some of us are married and have kids and all that, you know, this is something we wanted to experience when we were younger. And we would have just ran with this if this were around. I can't even begin to tell you what life would have been like for a young Steve who was able to go outside and actually catch Pokemon. That would have been just the greatest thing in the entire world if Pokemon Go were a thing when I was a kid. But yeah, guys, I've had so many amazing memories with Pokemon Blue that I'm so excited to go and experience them again. Now, will it have the same majesty as when I was a kid? Probably not, but that's okay, because I'm going to be going and remembering a lot. That's the beauty, is that I'm going to get to experience the nostalgia, the old feeling of playing those great games again, experiencing the soundtrack, except Lavender Town. But guys, I have to say, I would really love to know what your experiences with Pokemon Blue were, or Pokemon Red, or Pokemon Yellow. Or heck, maybe if you are a youngster and you came in at a later date, what was your first Pokemon game? How about you tell me down in the comment section below? Most of all, why don't you share with me also what your very first starter ever was? I'd love to know that. I would love to know what your very first starter was. So, guys, no matter what generation of Pokemon you came in at, we can all agree that Pokemon is awesome. And we all can't wait to experience. So for you youngsters who are going to get to experience it tomorrow, well, let's just say this. It's not as refined of an experience as it is now, but it's still cool to go back and experience what we think was the most awesome series. So guys, thank you all for watching this video. Make sure you like it and share it to those who you think would be interested, and most of all, give us a subscribe here on the channel. We really appreciate you watching this video, and happy hunting tomorrow, trainers. Anyway, guys, thank you all. Have a great day. Thank you for watching. Turbo out.